Starlink.
Welcome back to another weekend on the Smallholding, or a week, whatever it ends up being. It's a bank holiday weekend, the first bank holiday in May, so we are so happy to have 3 days off the paid job. We're feeling a little bit tender today because right here where I am is where we hosted some of our friends last night, and we had something to eat and a few drinks, and it doesn't take much these days to make us feel a little bit rough the next day, which doesn't really go hand in hand with running a smallholding, but entertaining does, and we had a fabulous time. So a bit of a slow start this morning. It is 9 o'clock now, which is a slow start for us, and we're going to have a walk around to talk about what Stephen's going to get up to. My first job of the day, not a particularly glamorous one, but a really helpful one for tomorrow, which I've got a job inside working, doing some canning of the cockerels that we processed last week. I was going to do that today, but it's due to be a lovely day today, like you can see, and tomorrow it's going to rain all day apparently, so it makes sense to switch that to tomorrow. So my first job of the day today, before I head out to the garden and get on with what I'm going to do, is to have a look in the freezers and see if there's anything else that I want to get out of there to pressure can, but also do a little bit of an inventory to see where we are with things, because obviously later on in the year, I'm saying obviously, if you don't know, we're processing our steer later on this year, so he'll be going into the freezers. We're going to take stuff out of the garden and pressure can or water bath that as quickly as we can when we're bringing harvest in, but meat wise the majority of that will go in the freezer, but it will also go on the shelves into jars as well. Anyway, point being, I want to have a look what we've got in the freezers and see what we're working with before I come outside and enjoy this absolutely beautiful day.
Right, like Tracy said, we've got a nice day ahead of us today, so I've got a few tidy up jobs on I want to get done. First of all is clearing all this from where we've been having the fires over the years, and it's all that's left is unburnable stuff and unusable stuff, and I've got a load of the old fir trees to burn that we can use the ash for the garden, but I don't want to mix it all in with this, so I need to get rid of all this first and then get on another few jobs which are hanging about the place that I need to get on with. Another job I want to get done today is get all this wood cut. It's all been here seasoned now for I think 3 years, so I want to get all that cut and into the log store ready for the winter. I've also got all this pile to cut up and get rid of because it's starting to look like a bit of an eyesore. It's just an old roof off a barn conversion my neighbour's doing. He said, do I want the wood to burn for the winter, so I've just got to cut it up and get it all stored away, so there's all that to get rid of. And lastly, I want to get all this shifted, which is off this tree here, which was massive above the house, which I cut down last year. So I want to get all that down to the burn pile and get that burnt, and then we can use the ash off that for the garden. When I'm looking around, I thought it was going to be a quick and easy job, but the pressure's starting to build, so I better get on with it.
There's no such thing, dear.
No.
Just before I start on the freezers, little check-in with how the chicks are doing. These are our meat birds. Seem to be doing absolutely fine. They're already starting to get the white tips on their feathers. And that's partially what prompts a freezer check as well, because obviously when these guys are ready, weeks away yet, they'll be going in the freezer and on the shelves too. So we need to make sure that we're rotating everything that's in the freezer well. One thing that I know we do have is a lot of fruit in there from the garden last year that doesn't get used for fresh eating, so currants and things like that. I'm thinking that maybe we could do something with the rhubarb in the garden that we've got now and process them together. I've also got gooseberries and things in here, so I need to get a plan pulled together for making more barbecue sauce before the next lot of gooseberries come. And like Stephen said, try and process things without putting them in the freezer this year, because once they go in the freezer it becomes a bit of a museum, and then, you know, it's there for us to look at and not do anything with in the future, which isn't how we want to be working. So this is the freezer unedited. First thing I've opened. I'm not going to start moving stuff, so it's going to get too noisy. But under here, I can see straight away these are the gooseberries and the other currenty related things. These here are just larger bits of meat that we use in the slow cooker. So I'm going to move that now, make a bit of noise. More currants, and then plums, more blues, more rhubarb. So that's more fruit. I tend to use these kind of bags in the freezer. I find it makes a massive difference. This is an emergency cauliflower rice. Some pork fillet that's not supposed to be in there. Soups. Right, okay. Okay, that's fine. So then we get down to the rest of it. So this bag here has got liver in it. Can't remember off what animal, possibly lamb, and a whole horse of the belly pork that's left from the last year's pigs, which is great because that'll feed quite a few meals. Right, so this bag is predominantly pork. There's a couple of lamb necks in there which we're going to use for some stock. I'm going to put that in, but I'm looking, it hasn't got the handles have ripped off, so I'll do that in a moment. And the other main meat thing in here is the pork mince. So that is fantastic to have that much. I'd actually forgotten how many we had. And then there's a couple of the lamb big joints there, so we will prioritise using those. Next to there's mostly fruit in here in that bit of cooked game. Also there are some tomatoes that we've just literally cooked and blitzed, and then under here is basically a mix of roast vegetables that just got blitzed together and portioned out, which can just bulk out other meals and things. Right, I've pulled a few things out of this freezer because it's got a little bit messy. Again, broad beans from last year, they can be used in salads moving forward for the next couple of weeks, so I'm really pleased with seeing those. There are 2 whole chickens from our last batch, and there's some other chicken pieces underneath there, so we can get to those. So they can be on the menu moving forward. Obviously, there's also some game pieces in here. There's pheasant, mix of pheasant and hare just back straps, and then the leg is separate, and also a big bag of venison, and there is a beautiful venison haunch in there that will need to do justice. This is the other bag, which is mostly lamb. Lots of lovely diced lamb. There's a random bag of mince in here, which I don't think is lamb. But yeah, other lamb chops and things, which just do perfect just for quick meals that we can have without having to pre-plan too much. I've popped that back in. I do tend to buy these frozen sweet potato chunks because they can go in the soups that I make, just to bulk it out if I don't happen to have the other ingredients that we might need to make something. So that's been super helpful. I tend to just get those once or twice every couple of months and try not to rely on them too much. Still got a few portions of these left. That's a random piece of quiche that we made as well. I thought we'd used all of that. So still loads to be getting on with. And the other thing that I found in these freezers, I reminded myself that was there, were tomatoes and the last of the chilies from last year. So again, I'm just going to literally blitz those in, put them in the slow cooker, let them all cook down together, not the chilies, the tomatoes, skins and all, and then I will just whiz them in the blender and just use them as if they were tinned tomatoes. That has worked really well for us. What that does mean is that once they have been cooked, they'll be getting frozen again, because that's kind of a different way that you would be pressure canning those, but it is really quick just to do that and they'll get used quickly. For the peppers, they're going to be a bit more fiddly with the seeds and things, so you need to figure out the best way to use those. Maybe they could, we'll have a think. So I'm going to get all this put back. And it's been good to remind myself everything that's in here, so that we've got definitely a good few months left of eating from last year's produce. Of course, nothing goes to plan. Stephen's just been in the barn and shouted at me and said there's something wrong with one of the lambs. Something we've never seen before. Absolutely fit and healthy when we were feeding him this morning. And they've only been on milk. They've not had any other creep food, and nothing else basically eaten. And this lamb is just looking at the floor and just circling left, round and round and round and round. So I rang the vet. Thankfully, it's open on a Saturday morning until 1 o'clock. I explained the situation and he said he believes it's a mix of, it's a problem with his stomach, and basically his gut being unhappy, and he's going to give him a shot of B1, or we're going to give him a shot of B1, but also some antibiotics excuse me, to cover anything else. So we're going to go and pick that up now. The journey to the vet is about an hour. So there's 2 hours out of our day. And typically, Grace is not here to give the shot. Being a veterinary nurse, obviously she's more than comfortable with that. We're less so.
Well, we've just got back from the vets. It's an hour and 45-minute round trip to our closest farm vets. This is the poorly little fella that's we've been for, so we're just going to get him jabbed up and get him back in with the rest of them.
Well, that's all done. So unfortunately Grace isn't here today, like I said, so she would have been perfect for doing the injection, but second best was, so Stephen has done all of those. They were intramuscular injections, so straight into the muscle of his thigh. Unfortunately for him, there was 3. Well, fortunately, because it's hopefully going to make him better. But there was 3 injections. So we did the 2 nicer ones in one side and the one that's a bit more of a stinger in the other side. And it went absolutely fine, thankfully. So the injections were a B1 injection because the vet was explaining to me that as the lambs sort of develop, they're getting the second stomach to the rumen starting to develop, and basically if they've got an unhappy gut, they often see that and it's a B1 deficiency maybe. So he's also advised us to start feeding them just really small handfuls of hay to help that development and stabilise whatever's going on there. The other one was an antibiotic and also an anti-inflammatory, just in case, to try and cover a broad range of things. We've got to do the same again for 2 of the injections in 48 hours time. So fingers crossed, if it's the B1, then he's going to start feeling much better. I don't know if you can see him on the camera, but we don't want to distress anybody by showing them. He's just sort of circling to the left and keeping his head on the left-hand side. So apparently classic symptoms, but just in case it's anything bacterial, that's why he's given the antibiotics as well, and said not to worry about the others. So they look like they're already starting to tuck into the hay, which is good for them as well. So he's also advised us to not start on the creep food just yet, which is the lamb feed. He said wait and see how the next sort of couple of days goes. So it's just as well it's bank holiday weekend, so that we're here to keep an eye on things. Look at this one. Well, I do have 1,000,001 things to be doing. You hear Stephen in the background. But this little guy's struggling, and I'm wondering if it's the heat. He's basically spinning round in circles non-stop, completely out of breath. And also, can you see how fast he's breathing, that is actually slowed down quite a bit. It's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour now after he's had his injections, and I would expect to see something anywhere from, it says like 1 to 3 hours for the vitamin B1 to take effect. I can't watch him spinning around in circles and just struggling like that. It's making me dizzy watching, so imagine how he feels. So I've come to the slightly cooler shed and put him on my left, like his head to the left, because that's the way that he's trying to go, and he seems to have calmed down quite a bit, so that he's actually resting a little bit more now. I think using all of his energy to spin, it's stressing him out, and being so warm in the barn anyway, obviously exacerbated by not being very well, just a bad combination. So I've brought in, he's had a little bit of milk, and I've got water in there now, just to obviously try and keep him hydrated, because he can stand and drink the milk, but as soon as he comes off the teat, he starts spinning again. So he's holding himself up without a problem, he's stood drinking without a problem, but then as soon as that stops, it starts up again. So I'm just going to sit with him for a little while. I've got all day to get things done, so this is the priority for now.
That's a couple of good jobs done today. Expected to get more done, but unfortunately that's all we got done. But fortunately we're stocked up, ready for the next few winters. We'll use this side first, that's the last of our old stuff, and then we'll get onto that. So no, we don't want to be thinking about winter on a day like this, but it'll be around before we know it.
So nighttime feed for this little man, and we thought he was getting a lot better, But unfortunately, when we've come in, he's spinning round in circles again. And he didn't want his milk as normal in the contraption that Stephen's made. So I'm trying to sit with him and really encourage him to drink, which he is, but it's as if he's lost the ability to suckle from the bottle, and then he'll suddenly remember for 10 seconds and be able to do it again. And then he sort of stops. So I don't know if that's just because he's tired or if it's something neurological going on, but I'm a little bit concerned, to be honest. We'll see how he is. See how he is in the morning. Next morning, as you can tell, and look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looking absolutely fine. I fed them, and then he's just there. So when I came in, they were all ran over. They looked bright as buttons. That's him shouting. Bright as buttons, totally fine. I thought, oh my goodness, fantastic. Fed them, got them sorted. It's always chaotic. And he started suckling straight away and sounded just absolutely spot on. But then, as soon as he finished suckling, he started spinning, doing the circle thing on the floor again. So I put him straight back on the bottle. Last night he wasn't able to take as much as normal, but he did have enough. And then this morning, excuse the cockerels, early morning, everybody's at it. And then this morning, he seemed to be suckling very strongly. His milk was going down just fine. And like I say, then just stopped. And now he's took himself off to just lay down in the corner, which is good because yesterday he couldn't lay down. He was just had to stand and circle. So I'm going to take that as a positive and then see where today goes. But the rest of them seem to be thriving, touch wood. There's always something, but it's always a shame when you've only got a small amount. Oh, I didn't even realise that was him then. So that's a good sign. Itching with his right leg on his right hand side of his face. He couldn't do anything on the right hand side yesterday, which is why I thought it was neurological or something, brain related. And you can probably hear a totally different weather day today with dew, rain all day long. Right, I'm going to leave him to it. And then come back and check on him, I don't know, in an hour or so. No guesses for what we're doing today then. This is a bunch, quite literally, of the tomatoes from the freezer. There's some left. That's pepper, some of the small aubergines. Can't remember, was that something? I can't remember the variety. Anyway, a few of the tomatoes left that I can't quite fit in. Rather than put a different slow cooker on, I'm just going to wait for some of these to shrink down, and I need to add onions and garlic in too. So I'm just going to get them on to start off with, and then I'll add these once they've started shrinking down, along with the onions and the garlic. Let those go all day long, and then I'm going to use those in combination with some of the pork mince that we had in the freezer yesterday to make a chilli, and then we're going to can it along with the cockerels, the chicken that we've got, and other bits and pieces. But this is the first job of the day. Right, we're a couple of hours later. Look how much liquid is coming off these. It's not even like hot bubbling yet, because of how cold it was, obviously. So these skins are going to peel off super easy. So where I can, I'm just going to use some tongs to peel the skins off, and I'm going to get the other tomatoes in there and some onions, and these are just literally going to go all day long and even overnight if I have to, because we do want to reduce some of the liquid down. I won't throw the liquid away. If I strain it off, we'll use that in soups or anything like along those lines. Right, I've got the big stock pot out because we're going to start on with those cockerels that Stephen processed the other night. I'm going to get them pressure canned, and you might be thinking, well, if you are a pressure canner, why doesn't she raw pack them? Because we don't want to have to strip all of the meat off the bones. They're really not meaty birds, so what we've decided to do is cook them down so that we can strip the cooked meat off, then reuse the bones again for 2 lots of stock, that'll be, and then we're going to can the cooked meat with some, basically I think I'm going to do onions and celery because we don't like the texture of the carrots when they're cooked, so almost a base for a chicken soup, and then you could just add carrots when you're reheating it, something like that, or noodles, whatever it might be. It's going to be a super versatile base jar for meals on the shelf, basically. So that's the plan. Stephen's going to come over and get the birds jointed now. I'm not sure if that's going to be big enough, but I do have a countertop, sort of a slow cooker that gets really hot. I don't know what you call them, that I can put on as well if we need to. So we'll see if we can get them all in here first.
So these are just 9 young cockerels that are coming into adolescence and making a nuisance of themselves. So with all our cockerels that get raised here, they all go into food, into soups and stews or whatever we deem necessary. So all I'm going to do now is just quarter these into joints, just so that we can get as many as we can in the pot. So we're just going to take their breasts off like that, and then take these legs off the bone just like that, and then we'll stack them as best we can to go into the pot, so we can hopefully get all 9 in.
Right, we have got in some veg stock, basically carrots, celery, onions. All of this is full to the brim of chicken pieces. Looks something like this, which I obviously ran out of space in the other one. So this is the device that I was on about. I'm trying to see what it is. I think it's Morphy Richards. And this is all sort of what you're cooking. You don't have a liner that you're cooking like a slow cooker, if that makes sense. And then there's an electric point here that you just attach it and set whatever temperature you want. So same ingredients in here. I had a tiny bit of time left over. But at the moment, I'm just trying to cook the chicken so it's shreddable and just flavour it a little bit. So I've only been out about 10 minutes and it's already starting to bubble. So this clearly gets up to temperature quite quickly. I'll remember that for the future. I haven't used this for absolutely ages, but now we're starting to get into kind of the season of stocking the shelves, or hopefully it'll be coming around quickly. We're going to be using this for other bits and pieces too. Now, this is something that I need for another recipe, but today apparently is not going to be the day for it because it is still completely chucking it down. So the idea is I would like to make a year's worth of wild garlic salt. So I've got 2 of these and they're 500 grams each, and I've got another one that's 300 in the house. So I think that's kind of, I worked it out, that'll be about a teaspoon a day, teaspoon and a half a day, something like that. So working out in if we were to use it every day, how much we would need. And it would be nice to be able to make some to last for the full year. So I'm literally going to whiz wild garlic when it's dry, rock salt, and the other one's just a coarse sea salt, so both pretty similar, together, and then put them in the dehydrator and just dry them and whiz them back up again, make sure they're thoroughly dry, and then just jar it up. Plan is to put it into this smaller kilner jar and then just take in the house what we need, in theory. The other thing, we've just been and got some of these pine nuts, because I would also like to make some wild garlic pesto. Now, we do have a nut allergy in the house, but that person, it's Grace, she's got no secrets in people knowing that. She won't be using the pesto, obviously. She doesn't like it anyway, or she doesn't like other variants of pesto without the nuts in anyways, so there's no chance of her eating that accidentally. Olive oil and also the wild garlic. So tomorrow, hopefully when it's drier, fingers crossed it's not going to rain tomorrow, we'll get the wild garlic harvested and do both of those recipes then. It's a bank holiday, so we're off. Thank goodness. Really, really needed this bank holiday.
So while it's raining outside, we're going to finally get on to giving these guys a bit of outside space. So we've had the lambs in the spare stable over there for a while, then we moved them out, we had the cockerels in, they're gone, so we've just given a good clean out, and we're going to swap these. These are Welsomer, what do you call them, a quartet or something. There's 3 girls and a cockerel, so we're going to breed off these for some more Welshmen because they're excellent egg layers. So we're going to give them a bit of outdoor space because they've been in here too long now.
Now we don't normally like holding them upside down, but the cockerel has been quite aggressive recently, so it's going to be the safest way for him and for us. It's going to be for about 10 seconds while Grace moves him from this pen, can you manage, to the next one. So we've got the cockerel first because, as I say, if you try and pick the females up, and they start making a noise, then he will have a pop at you. So the ring that Grace has just taken off there is from when we bred off them, just to identify the ones from the other Rhode Island Reds that we had, so we knew how old they were. I was holding that shut and it was locked. And a little update on the lambs. So Grace has just got home and this was the poorly one, or is, hopefully was, given the milk. He's still doing the circle thing, but he's nowhere near as bad as he was. So they're just having, if you can hear me, they're just having a mad half hour now after they've just had the milk.
Been a good suppler as well.
Oh, you're resting on him.
No, be nice
not
to
resting him.
It's just a quick makeshift nest box for them. Open them up so they can get a bit of outside space and hope they don't fly off and escape.
These have used a hatch like this before, haven't they, when they were in the other pen next to it, so...
We've got enough perches there as well. Perch up there if they want. Go and get them the water and the feeder.
Pure luxury. Let's just have a quick check on them. What a difference, a stark contrast the green is to what they've been living in. This will be lovely for them. It's just a mix of nettles and different weeds and things in here. We've had ducks in here, chickens in here previously, but it looks absolutely beautiful next to that apple tree. The apple blossom on all of them. It was stunning yesterday when it was so bright, but you can see the rain's making it look a bit like it's snowing at the moment. So the chickens behind are a mix of Rhode Island Reds and some that we've bred ourselves. There's a couple of different crosses in there as well. Oh, and we're off. Happy Monday.
See if I haven't got enough jobs to do.
Finally catching up. Last night we ended up with visitors, so I am trying to do the canning with one hand, which was never going to work. That's better. So I'm getting round to canning the last of the chicken and the chilli that I've made this morning, which, goodness me, we have been living on the edge cooking that.
Yeah.
I've got a complete mess to tidy up. I literally, as you can tell, got up, fell out of bed and fell into all of my jobs and just kept on going. So I'm now going to try and get tidied up while this comes up to temperature. If you've never seen pressure canning before, it's a form of preserving basically where the items are under pressure for a period of time and it makes it safe for the shelf. I'm not even going to try and get into that in this video. So that is now going to just do its business while I get tidied up.
Well, the cats around here.
Of all the places, I thought blackbirds laid in like trees, not on the flipping ground.
weather gods have been kind to us today, so I finally got all them 4 jobs I want to do and done. So got all that cut up, but it wasn't as seasoned as I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to stack it here for another year or so till I use up what I've got in there. I'll throw a tarpaulin over it for the winter, but we'll leave that there for a couple of years. I've still got a couple of years wood left to burn over there near the house, so that'll just sit there seasoning for the next couple of years. And then all the stuff out the front I wanted rid of. I borrowed my neighbour's van, which just made it a quick, easy job. So he's loaded all his van up, it's just there in the distance. All that old fir trees and stuff, all just ready to burn when we get round to it. A few nights I'll just go through it bit by bit, burn that down, and then that'll get all that rid of, because this area where we want it clear is going to be our new pig area when we finally get round to it at some point. So I wanted all that clear. Once I've got that burnt, get rid of all the ash, that can go straight in the garden because it'll just be wood, and then we can just get on with it as and when we need to.
After work on Tuesday saw us relocating the Starlink that we put up on the front of the house. Unfortunately, we thought it was going to work, but it didn't, and we spent about 3 hours trying to get this onto the roof safely. But the blossom looked beautiful while we were doing it. Anyway, managed to get that done, but it literally took all of the evening, but a good job done. Goodness me, it is a bright one. I really am underneath here. Last of the evening sun, Stephen and I have eaten already tonight, and we're in the garden and the shed. He's actually going to show you a project that he's working on very kindly for me in the shed, but for now I'm going to pick some of the wild garlic, or most of the wild garlic, and we've been using it in bits and pieces to do with eggs and things like that you'd have spring onions on, but this is for the salt that I mentioned the other day, trying to make a year's worth of wild garlic salt. I have no idea how much it's going to make, so we shall see together, but the flowers are already starting, and so the flowers are going in with the salt as well because it's all edible. This is the patch, absolutely beautiful, still got some young leaves coming through there, so I'm just going to literally pick these out. I might actually cut them, as I said before in another video. Basically this spreads so much every year, so I want to try and get the flowers before they turn into seeds, so I'm not worried about pulling them out from the bottom and taking the actual bulbs, which are also edible too, but I think I'll try, I'll see how we get to. If we just look in here and just off this back clump, for example, I'm actually trying to get the roots too, because yeah, I don't want it all growing back like this next year, but I'm thinking how I'm going to get it clean for the salt, because I'm going to have to take the roots off. Excuse the farm noises. The farmer over the way is doing something with his tractor. Stephen's in his workshop. I've got a basket of wild garlic. I'm no idea how heavy this is going to be, so I'm going to go and wait to give me an idea, and then we'll be able to either put it in the fridge in a bag and it'll keep for a good few days, or get it preserved straight away. Depends how much I've got here. There's obviously still lots more in the bed rather than around it where it's spread. Some of these leaves are a little bit older, so they'll take a little bit more individual picking, and they will die back if left. So if we need them, we shall add them, but it will be just the good ones from this bed. There's also the daffodils next to them here. And then I cannot remember, I think that might be yarrow. Can't remember. Not the dandelion, of course. I had to put it in a bag to weigh in the end. This is that coming up 687 grams, and that isn't it's not even a sort of a stuffed bag, so that is a really good amount. I'm going to actually put this in the fridge now, because I've got something in the greenhouse I want to get done tonight, and this will keep more than fine for a good few days. But let's go and get some work done in the greenhouse. Why? Oh. So at this point, Stephen was busy getting on with my shed, so I went in to see him before I started in the greenhouse, and we just wanted to show you what we actually noticed, which I think I'm about to talk about in the next clip. But here's the footage of some chicks that have just hatched. They're actually robins, so we were trying to get some footage without disturbing them, and in the end, when we came out, Stephen actually look at them. And when we came out, Stephen actually put his phone on the tripod so we could see. And the male and the female both came in to feed them. And you see how busy they are all around the plot. It's absolutely fascinating to watch. Beautiful birds. Really, really privileged to have them.
Right, so we're just giving Tracy's shed a bit of a revamp. So she wants like a bench that's in the corner, so we've come up with this design. It's like just over 1 metre by 50. So a nice corner piece, and we're going to probably put Rodney's bed under there so he can go in there, and this will have a fold up seat, and then it'll have some cushions on the top so she can sit in the corner. We've taken all this out up to about here so we can have like long standing tools and stuff in that corner, and then we're going to put some floor to ceiling shelves in this corner, but we have to be in and out quick because the robins keeps coming in and out to feed its chicks, so we don't want to be in here too long disturbing it. So I think that's about the right design for that. So now I'll just figure out how to clad it, make the seat. Bob's your uncle.
Already making design changes. About 3 seconds later, we were talking about putting a dog bed underneath. I've just said, who we kidding? If there's nice comfortable cushions on the top, Rodney is not going to go in the dog bed underneath. So change of plan. We think that we're going to clad the whole thing and make all of it storage. Obviously this shelf across the top there is going to come off, and this is going to be like a little seating sort of L-shaped corner piece, whatever you want to call it. Right, so the job that I wanted to get done was to come in and get this propagator sorted, because it's going to get down to 1 degree again tonight. The borlotti beans that these are climbing borlottis. Oh, you can't see. There we go. Have just started to make an appearance, so I'm going to move them behind me. And leave the tomatoes in here. So these are the Super Mama. Really terrible germination on some of these, and then when some came through, the two at the back died, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And I've also had a really hard time with the jalapenos too, but not to worry too much. Leeks are coming on absolutely fantastic. Whoops, not if you knock them over like that, they won't, Tracy. Anyway, so I'm going to get this cleared, and then we're going to get these all recently sown squash and Greek beans, different squash, and some really late tomatoes, but by choice. We're going to get those in the propagator so that they've got a fighting chance overnight tonight, along with some of the ones that we got from our local nursery that we like to support. They actually fit in perfectly. I can't fit another tray in. Let me just show you. Can't fit another tray in, but they fit in perfectly along there. So I'm just going to make sure that this is as sealed up as it can be, and then happy days. So yes, as I was saying, I think when these are grown together, they're much happier. So again, let's try and remember to do that next year. I'm going to go and do this now before it's too late. I'd clearly explained, but off camera, this tomato needed rescuing. It's a potato leaf variety, this one. Just like the Super Mama, but it's one of the daddy varieties. Big Daddy, this one. All done. A little bit yellowing on the leaves, but fingers crossed we've caught that in time. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm wondering if it just fell over and never got put back upright, and then it's just kind of rotted at the bend. Anyway, I'm going to pop this inside the propagator on top of those borlottis just for the night, because I don't want it to have the shock of what it's been through, and then a frost to deal with. Should be just fine. These aren't tall enough to harm, so I'm just going to pop it there for the night. Good luck, little one. And then that is another good job done. Don't think I said, it's actually Wednesday night, and we're completely to pot with it being a bank holiday, even though we were at home on a Monday, or should I say probably because we were at home on the Monday. So it feels, well, it's Wednesday, but I don't know what day it feels like. So we're a little bit all over the place. Anyway, the sun is starting to go down. It's absolutely beautiful evening. Now I'm going to go and get the pony and bring him inside. He's called Sonic, if anybody's interested. And then he's going to bed down for the night. I can already feel the change in temperature. I've come out the sun there. Real dip. Tell you what, there's been a lot of trains tonight. Don't normally get this many. bit of an update on how I got on with the canning. So these are the results from the cockerels that Stephen processed. There are 9 jars. So basically we got a full jar of meat from each cockerel. And as I said, decided just to do the meat in the end with some other little bits of veg. Maybe there's some celery and some onions in there, but no carrots, which it would be nice to have as a base of the soup, but the texture of the carrots is just not nice at all. So we left those out. They can just, because it's pressure canned, we can eat that straight out of the jar or reheat it to put into something, into another meal. And then I've got 10 jars of chilli. So there's 9 of these with the lug lids, which are just basically like your jam top, screw top jars. And then I just threw in for interest one of the flat tops of the balls just to see how it did. Sealed perfectly. Absolutely thrilled with those. So 10 jars of chilli for the shelves, 9 jars of chicken. Absolutely perfect. Finally, going to go and let the steer Dexter back into his paddock where he can get access to his shelter. He'd be totally fine still in the field all night, and he sometimes just stay in there of his own accord. But I tend to close the paddock gate when Sonic the pony is in there, because that he would get in and eat all of Dexter's hay, and if he's left any of his feed, which he doesn't to be fair, but if he certainly leaves some hay. So now the grass is growing, and the last thing I want is the pony getting free access to hay. So I'm going to get this opened, and I think everything's about, oh, the pigs have heard me. I think everything's about done. And then I can head in for the night. It's been absolutely glorious tonight. Beautiful. It's a bit chilly, as I say, now the sun's gone down. But when you're busy, it doesn't matter because it keeps you warm. Dexter's in the distance doing perfectly well. Going to the toilet, in fact. So at least everything's working in order. Right. Gate's locked. I'm heading in. Early night for us. Quick update on the lambs. If I walk in there now, they're going to start shouting because they want their last meal of the day. They're still on 3 bottles a day. The lamb that wasn't very well has picked up, gone back down a little bit, picked up even more, gone back down a little bit. So kind of a big sort of peak and a little bit of a trough, but never quite going back down to how bad he was previously. So we're just giving him some more time. He's had all of the meds that the vets gave. So now it's just a case of fingers crossed. He does seem to be doing okay. He's up and running about with the others, but as we know with livestock, things can change in a click. So I'm going to give Sonic his feed now that his stomach's settled down a bit after being in the field, and that really is it. I'm heading in then. Thursday morning, just about to feed the pigs, and I was thinking I was going daft. We locked this together last night, but it's actually not locked. It's just blown closed. Goodness me. One thing about having 4 instead of 2, the noise that they create is unbelievable. Right, let me get these fed. That's better. Hear myself think now. So I come down here and feed them at this end, and then I head back along there through the gate and top the water up. I haven't got anything else, dear. Anyway, as I was saying, Dexter's in the field, and I looked down from up the top and I thought, I'm sure I opened that gate last night. Anyway, we did, didn't we? We did it together, and it's blown closed. Well, I'm not sure about blown, because one day I was looking out the window this week, and Dexter was actually using it as a scratching post, but because we just kind of prop it open, I tend to like lift it over this, like so. Just so that it doesn't blow closed easily, but Dexter is using it as a scratching post, as I say, so he may well have done it. He'll head in there now when I disappear. These 2 are doing okay. Grass is coming through for them, they're quite happy. They will be getting their fleeces off in June. Somebody was asking in the comments. Oh, and I see Grace just come out to feed the lambs. We're off, the day is afoot. We've often wondered about doing days in the life. It's after work now. I'm doing the same as what I did yesterday, but we've often wondered what it would be like. Oh, bugger. Drop the lead drop. If we did do a day in the life, I mean, we do different things every night, but our days are very much the same. A week in the life, I guess, not a day in the life. But if you'd be interested, let us know. Although I kind of think we capture a lot of it now, but it would be very repetitive, I feel. Anyway, somebody asked us about that and we've often wondered. It's so nice to be out after a rather stressful day at work. So just literally coming in, having a look around with you guys. Pigeons, I heard them before I saw them. They're so clumsy, aren't they? Anyway, heading back to the shed. Hopefully the robin is still not too bothered by us being there. And basically Stephen has asked me to sort out the back so that he can get in and take that back shelf down and start putting the frame in. I've actually found some cushions off Amazon, which are the same ones as we got for our pallet bench that Stephen made in the bar area, and basically they're designed to go on top of sort of homemade furniture. They're really good from over there, so I'm just going to get the same. Thankfully don't need as many, so the cost isn't too bad. So I'm going to order those once we've got this frame in and we're comfortable with it. Not comfortable because we won't be comfortable without the cushions, but you know what I mean. Because Stephen's saying, hang fire, Tracy, because you know you like a change in your mind. I don't know what he means. Right, let's go in. There's a tripod from where he was filming. Might actually put the camera up there and see if we can see anything.
Perfect. Right.
Can you tell what it is yet?
You happy with that? Right, well, it's Friday night, the end of another working week. So we've decided now on a Friday night we're just going to chill out when we come home from work after all the animals are fed, and then decide what we're going to do over the weekend and the following week. So we just thought we'd come down. The pigs have been in here now a fortnight, and to show you the difference that they've made in a fortnight. After the first 2 or 3 days we thought, well, they're not getting through that much, but then after 2 weeks there's a stark difference in what it was to what it is now. So we've just brought the feed down. They're still on the hard feed, but we're feeding them as much as we can out the garden. So we've got a load of leafy greens for them that we just chuck in amongst the hard feed, and they're as happy as you know what in here. So come back next week and we might have had to move more by then.